Rewrite script. New article, London's Day of Protest, dramatic moment police arrest man for attack that left officer in hospital at pro-Palestinian march in London as hundreds of demonstrators stage sit-in at Waterloo. Police detain a man following scuffles between rival supporters as protesters walk past the cenotaph on Whitehall. The Met Police issued a photo of the officer in hospital and said he is in good spirits. Met Police made a second arrest in London as a man in Waterloo station was heard shouting racist remarks. Officers were seen clashing with protesters as things became heated on Saturday afternoon. British Transport Police officers are surrounded by hundreds of pro-Palestine protesters outside Embankment Station. More than 100,000 people turned out onto the streets of London on Saturday. Thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters take part in a demonstration by the Palestinian Solidarity UK organization in central London. Protesters waved flags and sat on top of telephone boxes in London on Saturday. When asked if the dramatic video was connected to the arrest, a spokesperson for Metropolitan Police responded, "The arrest was on Whitehall, so this appears to be the same incident." Hundreds of activists blockaded Waterloo Station on Saturday in solidarity with Palestinians. The Met has deployed more than 1,000 officers and said they will intervene if protesters shout jihad during the demonstrations, while London Mayor Sadiq Khan said the force will do everything in its power to tackle hate. Many protesters in Waterloo held signs accusing Israel of genocide. The 20-second clip showed 3 Met Police officers restraining the suspect as seas of people surrounded the dramatic incident while screaming in shock. British Transport Police look on as hundreds of activists blockade Waterloo Station. Diane Abbott MP speaks at the pro-Palestine rally on Saturday. Protesters hold up placards as they gather to take part in a march for Palestine in London today. Protesters hold up placards as they gather to take part in a march for Palestine in London today. Activists waving Palestinian flags marched down the River Thames in London as a fresh round of protests takes place today. Campaign groups came out in their masses to voice their support for Palestine amid a bombardment from Israel. Protesters let off flares as they marched through London towards Parliament Square this afternoon. Protesters of all ages were seen marching through the capital as the war rages on in the Middle East. Demonstrators have taken to the streets for a third weekend running to call for a ceasefire in the Middle East. Police are seen outside the Embassy of Israel ahead of a pro-Palestinian demonstration in central London. A ring of steel will be formed around the embassy. The officer was sent to the hospital. It comes around the same time that a shocking video was shared online of a group of police officers tackling a protester to the ground. People of all ages can be seen protesting in the support of Palestine at Waterloo Station. A placard which had a baby girl attached to it and said, "My only mistake is being born in Gaza." Demonstrators marched through central London in solidarity with Palestinians in Gaza. Protesters climbed bus shelters and staircases to wave their Palestinian flags during today's march. Protesters gather in their numbers ahead of today's march through the streets of the capital. Tens of thousands of protesters lined up ready to march through London in support of those in Gaza. A protester lets off a smoke flare on the statue of David Lloyd George in Parliament Square. Protesters display a large Palestinian flag as they walk over Westminster Bridge with the Palace of Westminster, home of the Houses of Parliament, behind. Protesters take to the streets of London to support Palestinians who are caught in a war between Israel and Hamas. Protesters take to the streets of Westminster, central London, in support of the Palestinian people. People gather for a national march for Palestine organized by the Palestine Solidarity Campaign. More than 1,000 police officers are out on the streets of London today for the big march through the capital. A woman holds up a placard demanding a ceasefire in the Middle East as Israel seeks revenge for Hamas attacks. This is the route that protesters will take, starting at Victoria Embankment and ending at Parliament Square. Police officers prepare to barricade off access to the Israeli embassy. Parts of Kensington High Street will be closed today. Metropolitan Police announced an arrest on X with this aerial shot of the incident. Huge concrete blocks are being put in front of the entrance to the road which leads to the Israeli embassy. Protesters hold placards and wave Palestinian flags as they walk over Westminster Bridge. The man was arrested on suspicion of a racially aggravated public order offense and making threats to kill. The Met Police has deployed thousands of officers to help deal with the hundreds of